and welcome everybody to another episode of US Law Live, the official podcast of the US Law Network. My name is Nick Roush. I'm a lawyer at the Larson King firm in sunny St. Paul, Minnesota. And this is a special episode we have this week that is just hosts only. It appears that as hosts, we have all been on the road from Beverly Hills down to the lovely Arizona desert. And it's time to repackage some of those events. We've seen some U.S. law colleagues on the road and look forward to some more ones throughout the year. So we'll go down the list, but we'll start from the top of my Zoom screen with Jessica Dark at Pierce Couch. Jess, how are you?
Hello, Nick. It's me, Jessica Dark from Pierce Couch in Oklahoma City. I'm very excited to recap our fun week at the member meeting at the Andas. We will get into this, but Mike Judy played and won mahjong.
Mahjong.
Mike,
Hello, Jessica, Nick. How are you both?
so good.
Doing well, but
Good.
I mean, so Mike, you learned a new game. We'll get into that later, but you played some
I
mahjong down in
did.
Arizona.
I did play Mahjong. And hello, everybody. Mike Judy from the Dicer Taylor firm in lovely Kansas City, Missouri. And our fourth host is very jealous that I played Mahjong without her. So to help ease her into her annoyance, I will introduce her now. So hello, Pam.
Hi, everybody. Pam Halford from the Carr Allison firm in Alabama. I am an avid mahjonger, although I do not have a mahjong room like Miss Dart here. But I have tried to get old Mike Judy to play with me a number of times, but he says I'm too scary because I yell at people, when in reality, I only yell at Allison Sauceman.
Yes, and that's the only reason I did play Pam is because I knew you would not be there to yell at me.
Perfect. 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 Well, now do you feel like you've got it down good enough that you can play with me?
No, not at all. I mean, I will try, but it will be a lot of yelling, I am sure, because I do not have it down in the slightest.
Well,
And as
we
Nick
will.
said, he said I was very sassy while I was playing.
Oh
If
Very
boy.
you haven't
sassy.
seen a sassy Mike Judy, it is something to see. That's all I gotta say.
Well,
Very
I'll
sassy.
host our podcast host retreat sometime this summer in my new lovely mahjong room. It can double as a study, but there's really no point of that when we have mahjong to play.
I do kind of like that. Let's pod retreat up there or over there.
That's a good idea.
It,
Although
Well,
it's not fun for you at all, Jessica.
at
I
the
mean,
member meeting, we tried to convince Connie that we should do these on location and that the four of us and our significant others should be whisked away to some fancy destination and then bring podcast guests to us there.
yeah,
Um,
we're angling for the board of directors retreat. We'd like to be considered board of directors, some sort of like lower tier podcast host situation. But maybe if everyone would write in, leave a comment on the pod that you support this, maybe Roger will send us there next
Think
year.
of the content. Think of the
I was
content.
just about to say, if we could just get like two board of directors members at a time to come on the pod, that would take us like a whole day, but then we'd be done and we'd have so much content for the year just like banked up that it would be worth it.
What's that line from Step Brothers? It's like investors, possibly you. Like I don't know. We'll see. Well, let's rehash some of the counter. We've all been on the road, and I'd like 2 cents from each of us, kind of on the events we've had. And I actually want to start from what I didn't reference. Um, there was a trucking and transportation event that was in Vegas in the early part of this year. I think we're now formally kind of at the quarter, kind of the first part. And I
Yeah.
think Mike, Pam, and me, we were all three there, I believe. What kind of guys that were there at the Vegas event? What'd you think? Good experiences, things you remember, takeaways from it.
I mean,
I
how could you not remember Def Leppard first and foremost? It was I tell you what, what are they in their late 60s, early
Yeah, they got to be at
70s?
least 70s probably. I would think.
If I am still moving around that good when I am that old, I will be doing things right.
I thought content-wise, we had a really great series of discussions. between both events. All of our presenters did a fantastic job. Yours truly was one of those presenters, so I had to make sure to give that little plug right there. No, I thought it was great, it was super well attended, some brand new faces, which was really fun. And then some of our regular US law attendees, which are always great to see, returning back to the well. What do you think, Nick?
I thought it was great. I think I agree. I think content-wise, we touched on a lot of different topics that I don't think we had in a while, right? So there was, I think, a really good discussion on the things that we see in reserve setting. It was really more, I think, when I looked at the topics for both the the piece on the front end that was more towards the younger folks in the companies and at our firms, and then towards more of the ones at the back end. I think the focus was more on, from the clients on issues that you guys are seeing. And I think the reserve setting one was great. Use of surveillance, I thought was great. Shout out to Marshall Investigative. I think we're seeing across the country different ways to use that, but then also different legal ramifications of how we use that and do we need to disclose it and the whole thing. And to add to Pam's point, most people, it seemed like I was there at happy hour with, that was either their first, client-wise, were either their first US law event. And I think there were some new US law firm members too that were there. So I think it was a good way to kick off the year for our programming.
No, I agree. And I think that part of what makes US law so special is how welcoming and engaging all of
Yeah.
us are, and how the network is. And, to what you touched on, Nick, the number of, either first time attendees or second time attendees that I ran into that were, I can't wait till I come back. I can't wait for the next event. I've learned so much. I've made so many great connections. I've had the opportunity to connect with people in my industry that, know the issues in and out, on the attorney side and on the client side of, I met other clients, other attendees that are dealing with the same issues I deal with every single day, and we all learn from each other. So, I think from that standpoint, it was absolutely amazing.
One of the high points for me was getting to do the race car experience.
Nice.
Which was really fun. Everybody has laughed at me because I drove a Corvette. Like, they had all kinds of really fancy cars out there. And they said, ma'am, what kind of car do you want? Because you got to choose. And I said, I'll take anything that's not yellow. And so they gave me the Corvette because evidently nobody else wanted it. But shout out to Rich Moreno, who I think set an all-time record for the race course. And those of you listening will think, oh my gosh, he must have gone so fast and broke the speed barrier. No, I think that if Rich Moreno topped 35 miles an hour, that would be shocking to me. So shout out to Rich, who is the most cautious of transportation attorneys. He is really soaking in everything that he's selling.
I think that was good. There was also a group that went to the Las Vegas Raider Stadium. I was in that group, and the only thing I thought was funny was with the Raiders in every room, there was like a different video screen that we saw highlighting videos that we had, and almost all of them included Max Crosby. And this is at the time where they were thinking that Max Crosby wasn't going to return. So we had multiple people saying, "I hope he stays because I don't know what your hype videos are going to look like." But great stadium, great events, and some great networking. And I want to transition now to our next one. This was in Beverly Hills. Now, Pam, I think you were the only one of this four that was in Beverly Hills, I think, right?
Mike tried to come. He,
Right.
used multiple different angles to try to get himself an invite, but could not, in fact, secure it. Jessica was at the Supreme Court of the United States, yeah?
I was at the United States Capitol, yes, visiting with my
Yes.
legislators, but I was also there in spirit and via
100.
Snapchat and Instagram.
That's true.
I felt like I was there. I got to experience it along with you, maybe just a little less shopping.
So this was the US Law Women's Connection, and it was a standout year because it was our 20th anniversary of the Women's Connection. So it was really fun. We had a lot of, sort of walks down memory lane and things like that. sprinkled throughout the programming. Renee Yanta, who founded the Women's Connection. I'm probably butchering her name. I apologize, Renee, if you listen. She's a judge now, so she probably does not have the time to listen to the US Law podcast, but I would love it if she did. She won the O'Hagan Carr Award during the event. So usually we reserve giving that award until our annual client conference. But because it was the 20th anniversary of the Women's Connection, they thought it was appropriate to award Renee the award while we were there, which was really fun. We stayed at the Reg, Bev, Will, if anybody remembers Pretty Woman. Lots of people wore polka dots in solidarity with our lovely redhead, Julia Roberts. We tried to reenact many PG portions of the movie along the way. Programming there was fantastic. Again, there was a really great presenter who happens to host the podcast as well.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Who
she
could it
did
be?
she did a really great job. So the presentations were fantastic. Facilitation was fantastic. We had a keynote speaker. She was an Olympian, and she told us about not making the Olympics in her qualifying, her second time qualifying, which was really interesting to hear. Sort of a motivational speaker tell you about like a big time failure. And she talked about kind of the way that you move through that and pick yourself back up. And
That really probably is. I mean, it's obviously different than what we are used to hearing. And I bet that obviously you remember it. It stuck with you.
Yeah.
I like that spin on it.
yeah, so that was great. We went shopping. Unfortunately, those of you who are listening to the podcast cannot see, but I'm going to show my lovely host the lovely little Gucci bag that I got
Oh.
on Rodeo Drive.
Oh.
Pretty.
Treat yourself.
It was my 40th birthday as well, just
Yes.
the week before. So, I decided treat yourself,
Treat
do all.
yourself. Treat yourself.
And
So
I
yeah,
heard
Women's
there was,
Connection was great.
and we talked about this a lot at the member meeting, but I heard there was a very inspirational and emotional video that they played for y'all.
Yes, 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 yes. There was a really fantastic video that US Law put together. It was like a true motion picture. It was not like a cobbled together video. It was produced and it looked lovely, and it talked about the past and the present and the future of the US Law Women's Connection with a heavy emphasis on the past, given that we were in our 20th year. So they talked to on the video some of the founding members of US Law's Women Connection and what it means to them and how it all got started. And it was really awesome to see some faces that have transitioned out of the network, like Renee, my former partner, Kathy Davis, to just hear people talk about what experience they have had interacting with other women through this organization. So it was an awesome thing to watch and be part of. We had I don't remember what they called it, but we had a fancy night where we all dressed up in cocktail
Fancy
dresses.
night. Ooh.
Yeah.
Fancy night.
That's what we say down here in Alabama. When it's time for you to put on your tails, you're going fancy night. So we all dressed up in our cocktail attire, and they had some really fun stations about the event. Like one, everybody got like a portrait painted of themselves, or like a caricature sort of, but it made everybody look fabulous with like legs super long. I mean, I looked like I was 7 feet tall. I had hair as voluminous as I could ever dream it would be. So that was lovely. And then there was somebody who you would give a few words to, and they would write a poem for you on the spot. And everybody was reading their poems to one another and crying. And that was lovely. And they had a glam bot, so everybody's making videos.
I I
It
mean,
was just
boys, you just won't understand the magic of Women's Connection. I didn't get to go this year. I have been several times. It's really, really special. I wish you could be there, but you can't. So I'm so glad that you were there, Pam, and I know we have wonderful clients and member attorneys that go every year or as many years as they can. And I think that just really shows you how important it is to, make those lasting relationships. Like you said, one of your former partners, one of my former partners was in the video as well. And I just think that's really special that regardless of how many years you've maybe not been in the network, it still means a lot to everyone.
absolutely. The last thing that sort of ties this back to what we talked about in the beginning was we had a whole mahjong experience for everyone. So we had a teacher come in and she
Oh,
taught everybody how to maj, and we had, gosh, I mean, it's felt like every attendee there was mahjing. So we had just maj on maj on maj, and then we'd play at the pool, and uh, I can't tell you how many women came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I'd love to play again at our next meeting." So we're gonna keep Mahjong coming around, Roger. I hope you hear it.
Yeah, I mean, not only do I love it and obsessed with it and I play it at home, but I think it just adds an extra bit of socialization element that maybe you don't really know what else to say or how to kind of walk up into certain groups. Not me, obviously, because I'll chat with anyone. But when you have that kind of common bonding experience of, oh, hey, what's this? And how do you play? And then before you know it, you're sitting down and 3 hours later, you've talked with new people and learned a new game. I think it's been really fun. I mean, I carried that 35-pound bag of mahjong tiles, full-size wooden racks to Canada for Women's Connection last year. Carried it on my husband's checked bag this year to Arizona, but she'll be back. She's going to every event I can take her to.
well,
US Law has a few Mahjong sets now. It's great. Now, y'all, the three of you guys went to an event that I did not have the opportunity to go to. And that was the member meeting just a few weeks ago. No, was that last week?
It was literally
Last
that was
week.
last week. I mean, you talk about carrying over mahjong to other events. So, I mean, I think Mike, Judy, and I both got our first dose of mahjong at the member meeting last week. So,
Nice.
but yeah, it was in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. It was great. And this was for those of you that haven't understood kind of the change in our member meeting now, it's only attorneys only and our corporate partners. So the event was only attended to by members of the U.S. Law Network in that designation. But I don't know. I thought the meetings were great. I think talking with other lawyers and talking about different opportunities to work together on referral matters and cross marketing and other ways to engage with our clients regionally too. I think it was a well-deserved few days, minus the stops we had along the way in Scottsdale. But Jess and Mike, what did you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was an excellently run event. One thing I ended up liking that going into it, I was a little bit hesitant about is, you were assigned tables, assigned seating for different events and different speakers and different roundtable discussions, which, when you go into it, it's, oh, can I really, get myself up for making small talk and, who do I want to sit with? I wanted to sit with so and so, hadn't connected with him or her for a while, but it actually turned out to be one of my favorite parts of the meeting in general is
Yeah.
getting to meet a lot of new people, folks that have been in the organization when it was founded, like Tom Oliver, versus folks that this was their first event, didn't know anybody. And so I think that really brought a deepened sense of connection with other lawyers in the network that I thought was really meaningful. And I hope they keep that going moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked we had very brief kind of success stories from the member attorneys about their experience in working with some of our vendors or our corporate partners. And so hearing directly from like Allison Sossaman on working with American Legal Records and Mike Funk, and very direct, specific, like here's some of the work that they have done for me. I mean, we all know kind of who our partners are and we see them at these events, but I thought it was really nice to have that where we got to hear more specific information from our colleagues. So I liked that. We did a really fun little exercise called the Collaboration Lab, which I kept calling the Collaboration Laboration, and thought that there was a lot of really good discussion out of that. I was at one about expansion and retention and one about technology, which unsurprisingly involved a lot of discussion of AI, but got a lot of good ideas on how to use AI and technology to kind of help grow but maximize my practice.
Yeah, I was in a
Did y'all
session.
have activities like we do at our
No,
client
there,
conferences?
right. No, there wasn't like a specific here, sign up to,
Yeah.
My favorite activity, go to the spa. So I did that on the way in town. And then I'd say, our activities were the happy hours before dinner, the mahjong at the pool. There was a pool day on
I was
the,
going to say, we had the pool party. Yeah.
sorry, that was the activity, I guess. But it
Yeah.
wasn't like a let's go river rafting or anything, but maybe
Mike got to work on his tan. Mike got to work on his tan. Okay, so we're all happy there.
I did. I mean, I needed to work on it. The sun had not been on this beautiful skin for too long.
Alabaster skin.
Yeah. I mean, Nick's been calling me Mark, and then I just thought you called me a different word that began with a B there, not alabaster. And I was like, come on now, Jess.
Oh, sorry. I'll speak up. I don't know the acoustics in my mahjong room yet, so I'll have to tweak them.
Ah, okay. Well, looking forward to kind of the next, 6 months or so, guys, before we go to the annual meeting in the fall. Are there other events you guys are teed up to go to kind of the rest of the year?
I am headed, oh, sorry, Pam. I'm headed to the Lead X retreat in Chicago the first weekend of June. Looking forward to that. It's a 5-year cohort. I think there's like 85 of us in this cohort. Mike, you probably have some solid information on that. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think there's going to be a lot of people who obviously are, getting more involved in the network. So a lot more people for me to meet. And I think we're going to a Cubs game, which we did a few years ago for the future U.S. law leaders. And it was so much fun. Beautiful weather, had a blast. What about you, Mike? What do you have?
No, I have a lot of U.S. law stuff the latter half of the year as well. I'm doing the Lead X in Chicago. My sister, who's a lawyer at our firm, will be attending as well. And I'm a little nervous that she will quickly outshine me as everybody's favorite Judy. So, looking forward to
That could
having all of you meet
never
her.
happen, Michael.
I mean, Pam, you are going to find your number one real quick.
Oh God, I cannot wait.
I am going to find out all of your secrets.
Yes, you can. There are not that many, but she's got some, I'm sure, that she can let spill. And then going to retail in Lake Tahoe in June.
Ugh,
And then,
sounds
of course,
hideous.
the member meeting, which is in Boston. I don't remember which month, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of travel the last half of the year.
Mike, I sure hope that you're planning to come to the transportation event in July.
Well, we can talk about that one offline, Pam, but there's some jockeying for position internally at old Dicer Taylor to see who gets to go to that.
Okay. Well, keep me in the loop because we're talking
I
about
will.
presenters at present. So that is my next event, and we will be in Colorado for the U.S. Laws. It used to be formerly known as the Transportation Summer Forum, but it will now be known as the Transportation Summer Summit.
A summer summit.
So, excited for that. We are heavy into planning on different topics, and we've got some really fun things coming down the pike. We're going to have sort of a focus group roundtable thing happening live with all of our attendees, and then we're bringing in a truck driver to talk about his experience through litigation.
Great.
So we've got a lot of fun things coming up. And then, of course, the annual meeting in Boston, which I've never been to before. I'm really excited.
I haven't either. I am also very excited.
That makes three of us. I've never been to Boston either.
Nicholas, have you been and are you coming?
I have not ever been to Boston before. And right now, yes, the annual meeting in Boston is on my calendar, so that'll be
4 for
good.
4?
So I have before then, so I think it's 4 weeks, the US Law Complex Tort Product Liability conference is down in Nashville. So I'll be in Nashville in 4 weeks for that. That'll be fun. And
We're
then
up in Nashville for Pam.
Yeah.
that's right. And then I will be with Pam in late July for the summer summit. So I'll be out there for that. And then we'll be back seeing all of you in lovely Boston in the fall. So
Okay. We've got a lot to look forward to.
we got a fun road ahead. Well,
We should probably all come in early and record some live pods. in
Maybe
Boston.
we could get like a place in Nantucket that US Law will pay for us, and we
Yeah.
can bring guests in there first, and then we'll go to Boston.
Yeah,
I think that sounds perfect.
we should definitely do like a clam bake or some sort of lobster situation at the pod recording.
Yeah. Well,
Fun.
thanks everybody for listening. I was glad to connect with my fellow podcasters. This was a really fun episode, and we look forward to bringing you a great new guest next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you on
Bye,
the
y'all.
road.
Bye, y'all. Tune in next time for another episode of US Law Live.